The sun hung low over Konoha, casting long shadows across the village as Naruto Uzumaki sprinted through the bustling streets, his sandals slapping against the cobblestones. The Hokage monument loomed in the distance, its carved faces watching over the village like silent sentinels. Naruto's breath came in sharp bursts, his heart pounding not from exertion but from the gnawing sense of déjà vu that had plagued him all morning. Something was wrong, horribly wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Earlier that day, he'd woken up in his apartment, the same way he always did, to the sound of Iruka-sensei's voice calling him lazy. He'd groaned, rolled out of bed, and stumbled toward Ichiraku's for breakfast, only to find the streets eerily quiet. The usual chatter of merchants and children was absent, replaced by an unsettling silence. Then, as if on cue, the ground had trembled, and a deafening explosion rocked the village. Naruto's instincts kicked in, and he'd bolted toward the source, his fingers already forming the familiar seals for a shadow clone jutsu. Now, as he skidded around a corner, he saw it, the towering figure of a masked assailant standing atop the ruins of the Hokage Tower, their cloak billowing in the wind. The figure's single visible eye glowed with an otherworldly light, and beneath their feet, the very fabric of Konoha seemed to unravel, buildings dissolving into swirling particles of chakra. "Who the hell are you?" Naruto roared, his voice cracking with fury. The figure didn't answer, instead raising a hand as dark energy coalesced into a swirling vortex. Naruto didn't hesitate. He hurled himself forward, kunai in hand, but before he could strike, time itself seemed to stutter. The world blurred, and suddenly, he was back in his bed, Iruka-sensei's voice echoing in his ears once more. His blood ran cold. This wasn't just déjà vu, he was trapped in a loop. Gritting his teeth, Naruto forced himself to think. If he was reliving the same events, then whatever was happening to Konoha was tied to that masked figure. He needed answers, and fast. This time, instead of heading to Ichiraku's, he made a beeline for the Hokage's office, bursting in without knocking. Tsunade looked up from her paperwork, her brow furrowing. "Naruto? What's the meaning of this?" "Konoha's in danger," he blurted. "There's some guy with a mask, and he's..." The ground shook again, cutting him off. Tsunade's eyes widened as the windows shattered, and the same explosion tore through the village. Without another word, she vaulted over her desk, her fist slamming into the floor as she activated her strength of 100 seal. "Move!" she barked, and Naruto didn't need telling twice. They raced outside, only to find the masked figure waiting, their presence radiating malice. "Persistent, aren't you?" The figure mused, their voice distorted, as if echoing from multiple dimensions at once. Tsunade's hands flashed through seals, and a massive summoning jutsu brought forth Katsuyu, the giant slug splitting into countless smaller versions to shield the villagers. Naruto, meanwhile, channeled Kurama's chakra, his body enveloped in a fiery orange cloak as he launched himself at the enemy. The masked figure dodged with unnatural speed, their form flickering like a mirage. Naruto's Rasengan slammed into empty air, but he pivoted instantly, throwing a barrage of shadow clones to box the enemy in. The figure merely chuckled, raising a hand as space itself seemed to warp around them. A black hole-like void swallowed Naruto's clones whole, leaving him wide open. Tsunade seized the opportunity, her fist connecting with the figure's mask in a devastating blow that sent them skidding back. Cracks spiderwebbed across the porcelain, but before they could press the advantage, time reset once more. Naruto gasped, back in his bed again. His hands clenched into fists. This wasn't just a fight, it was a race against time itself. And if he didn't figure out how to break the loop, Konoha would be lost forever. The air crackled with tension as Naruto Uzumaki lunged forward, his Rasengan spiraling violently in his palm. Across from him, a shadowy figure cloaked in swirling chakra mirrored his movements, their kunai clashing in a shower of sparks. The ruins of Konoha loomed around them, the village reduced to rubble in this nightmarish time loop. Naruto gritted his teeth, sweat dripping down his brow as he pushed harder, his muscles screaming in protest. He had lost count of how many times he had fought this battle, but this time, he wouldn't let history repeat itself. The enemy, a rogue shinobi wielding forbidden jutsu, twisted midair, evading the Rasengan with unnatural speed. Their crimson eyes glowed as they formed a series of hand seals, and the ground beneath Naruto erupted in a storm of black flames. Naruto barely had time to react, channeling Kurama's chakra to form a protective cloak around himself. The flames licked at his barrier, threatening to consume him, but he refused to yield. With a roar, he unleashed a shockwave of golden chakra, dispelling the inferno. Sasuke Uchiha materialized beside him in a blur of motion, his Sharingan spinning rapidly. "They're adapting faster than before," he muttered, his voice strained. "We need to end this now." Naruto nodded, his mind racing. Every time they fought, their enemy grew stronger, learning from their past defeats. But this time, they had a plan. Sakura Haruno burst from the rubble, her fists encased in chakra as she delivered a devastating punch to the enemy's flank. The ground shattered beneath the impact, but the rogue shinobi twisted like liquid, reforming just out of reach. "Damn it, they're like a ghost," Sakura growled, wiping blood from her lip. The trio regrouped, their breathing heavy but their resolve unbroken. Naruto's eyes narrowed. "We hit them together, no hesitation." Sasuke's Rinnegan pulsed as he raised his hand, summoning massive black rods that shot toward their foe. At the same time, Naruto formed a barrage of shadow clones, each one weaving intricate hand signs. Sakura channeled her chakra into the earth, creating fissures to disrupt the enemy's footing. The rogue shinobi countered with terrifying precision, their bodies splitting into spectral afterimages. They dodged Sasuke's rods, countered Naruto's clones with explosive tags, and parried Sakura's strikes with eerie calm. But this time, Team 7 was ready. Naruto's clones weren't just distractions, they were conduits. With a thunderous cry, he unleashed a massive sage art, super-tailed beast Rasen Shuriken, the spiraling energy distorting the air itself. Sasuke's Amaterasu flames erupted in tandem, black fire intertwining with Naruto's attack. The enemy's eyes widened for the first time, fear flickering in their crimson gaze. They raised their hands in a desperate block, but Sakura was already there, her fist connecting with their gut in an earth-shattering blow. The combined force sent the rogue shinobi crashing through the remnants of the Hokage monument, their body writhing in agony. The dust settled, and for a moment, silence reigned. Then, a low, guttural laugh echoed through the ruins. The enemy staggered to their feet, their body flickering between corporeal and ethereal. "You've grown stronger," they admitted, their voice dripping with malice. "But it won't be enough." Their form began to dissolve into dark mist, reforming into something monstrous, a fusion of cursed energy and stolen chakra. Naruto's heart pounded. This was it, the moment the loop always reset. But not this time. He exchanged a glance with Sasuke and Sakura, and without words, they understood. They would push past their limits, even if it cost them everything. As the transformed enemy lunged, the world seemed to slow. Naruto's chakra blazed like a sun, Sasuke's Susanoo flared to life, and Sakura's healing glow intensified. The final clash was a storm of light and shadow, each strike shaking the very fabric of the loop. And in that instant, as their attacks collided with the enemy's core, Naruto realized, this was their chance to break free. The explosion that followed was deafening, the force of it threatening to tear reality apart. And as the light consumed them all, Naruto could only hope that this time, they had done enough. The air crackled with chakra as Naruto stood atop the ruined Hokage monument, his breath ragged, his fists clenched. The sky was a swirling vortex of black and crimson, the remnants of Konoha vanishing like smoke in the wind. Around him, the echoes of battle roared, Sasuke's Susanoo clashing against the monstrous entity at the heart of the time loop, Sakura's fists shattering the ground as she fought to stabilize the collapsing reality. This was it, the final stand. Naruto's shadow clones flickered in and out of existence, each one buying seconds against the relentless tide of distortion. The enemy, a twisted manifestation of forgotten time, lashed out with tendrils of corrupted chakra, each strike erasing fragments of the world. "We can't keep this up," Sakura shouted, her voice strained as she barely dodged a crushing blow. Sasuke's Rinnegan flared, his Amaterasu igniting the air, but the flame sputtered against the entity's shifting form. "It adapts too fast," he growled. Naruto gritted his teeth. The loop had replayed countless times, each failure, each reset, each moment of despair, all leading to this. He could feel the weight of every lost timeline pressing down on him. But this time, something was different. The memories of his friends, their sacrifices, their unbroken will, they burned brighter than ever. "We're ending this now," he roared, his body erupting in the golden glow of Six Paths Sage Mode. The entity screeched, its form writhing as Naruto charged, his Rasengan spinning with the force of a collapsing star. Sasuke lunged beside him, his Chidori screeching like a storm. Sakura, summoning every ounce of strength, smashed the earth, creating a fissure that disrupted the enemy's footing. The three attacks connected in a cataclysmic explosion, light swallowing the battlefield. For a heartbeat, everything was still. Then, reality shuddered. The entity's form fractured, its screams dissolving into silence. The vortex above shattered like glass, the fragments dissolving into a clear, blue sky. The ruins of Konoha flickered, then, like a painting restored, the village reassembled itself, whole and untouched. Naruto collapsed to his knees, his body trembling with exhaustion. Sasuke staggered, his Sharingan dimming, while Sakura slumped forward, her fists bloodied but her smile unbroken. It was over. The loop was broken. As the dust settled, the villagers emerged, their faces dazed but unharmed. The sun shone as if the nightmare had never happened. But Naruto knew, everything had changed. The time loop had forced them to confront their limits, their fears, their bonds. And in doing so, they'd rewritten fate itself. The future was theirs to shape. No more resets. No more vanishing. Just the path ahead, together.